Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari So, good evening everyone. Welcome to Krishna Fest, Sunday Krishna Fest. So tonight we will continue reading from the Nectar of Instruction. We read from that last time, at least I gave a talk here. And last time we read Text-4. So this time we'll read Text-3. So we're obviously not going in order here. So I'll read the Sanskrit then the English. Utsaha nishchaya darya tat tat karma pavartanat sangatyagat sato vite shadbir bhakti prasidati. So here's the translation. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. So before we continue, if everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, number 5. Abandoning the association of non-devotees, and 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, or teachers. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Purport. Commentary. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami, who's the author of this book, in his Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu, another important book he wrote, 1.1 11, has defined devotional service as follows. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhiravritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. Uttama bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruit of karma and personal jnana and other selfish desires. Bhakti is a sort of cultivation, which bhakti is devotion for those. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service, and for this reason it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Sri Prahlad Maharaj recommends Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedadam. So the 9 processes of devotional service are as follows. 1. Hearing the name and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 2. Chanting His glories. 3. Remembering Krishna. 4. Serving Krishna's feet. 5. Worshipping the deity. 6. Offering obeisances to Krishna. 7. Acting as Krishna's servant. 8. Making friends with Krishna. 9. Surrendering oneself fully to Lord Krishna. So we'll just read a little bit more. Shravanam, or hearing, is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. One should not give oral reception to unauthorized persons, but should approach the proper person as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. It is further recommended in the Mundaka Upanishad, Tagvigyartam sagum gurum eva bigatchet. To understand that transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, this method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on mental speculation. In this regard, Lord Chaitanya told Rupa Goswami, Brahmanda Brahmati Kon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. In the course of traversing the universal creation of Brahma, some fortunate soul may receive the seed of Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. This is all by the grace of Guru and Krishna. All right, so we're almost done with this paragraph, then we'll stop there. The material world is a place of confinement for the living entities who are by nature anandamaya, pleasure-seeking. They actually want to be free from the confinement of this world of conditional happiness, but not knowing the process of liberation, they are bound to transmigrate from one species of life to another, and from one planet to another. In this way, the living entities are wandering throughout the material universe. When by good fortune one comes in contact with a pure devotee and hears from him patiently, one begins to follow the path of devotional service. Such an opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. So the purport is quite lengthy. Some more pages, so we're not going to read all of it now. But if you haven't got this book, it's a very important book. Remember the cover's falling off last time? So it's a very important book. I've had it for a while, that's why the cover's falling off. So. But you could get it in the gift shop. Right here, this gift shop. You should be able to, anyways. The Nectar of Instruction. Very important book. So if you have the book, you could continue reading the purport, and if you don't have the book, you could get the book and read the purport, so if you like. So, Om Jnanativedandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karitivachalam Bhangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaranam Vancha Kapadrivishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. Okay, so I'll read the translation one more time. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles such as hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, teachers. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So, when we talk about service, it's people. There's this idea of. Everybody has some idea, I suspect, of. Love. They have some conception of what love means. And if we really analyze it, you could say that so much of a person's loving relationship is actually based on practical activity. Just like we were speaking, just like I was speaking here some time ago on number 4 of this verse, of this book, the 6 loving exchanges between devotees, giving gifts, accepting gifts. I was going to read it earlier, so I'll just read it now. Offering gifts in charity, accepting gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, discussing. Accepting prasad, means food offered to Krishna, and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So we see that these exchanges are based on activity. It's not just like, I'm wishing you well, brother, right? Like, Kanai Balai, I'm wishing you well, okay? And I never practically, that's good. It's good. It's a nice gesture. It's a nice sentiment, but if we really want to develop some deep relationship, then there has to be some practical activity. So similarly, if one wants to develop some relationship with Krishna, who happens to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one has to engage in some practical activity to do that. So that's what's being explained here. That's what's being mentioned here in the purport. It's talking about pure devotional service. So it means devotional service, means loving devotional service to who? To Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there's a particular, you could say there's a particular standard that we're being advised to reach. And that is pure devotional service, which means that it's not a business exchange. Sometimes people like to have business exchanges with God. Right? I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, but you have to give me this, and you have to give me this, and you have to give me this. And if you don't, there's gonna be a problem. Means, I guess, there's a problem. I'm going to stop worshiping. I'll stop going to church, stop going to the temple, stop going to the mosque. There is no God, right? He's not fulfilling my orders. But if we see the real loving exchanges even within this world, which may be rare, you could say, but at least our teacher, Srila Prabhupada, would give the example, the purest love is the love of a mother and a child. Because there's no business exchange there. It's not that, okay, hey, well, right, like my mother's here, over here in the corner, on the far left, sorry, and my sister's here with her son. But whether it's my mother serving me growing up, which she did, or my sister serving her son as she's doing, there was no business exchange there. Wasn't that, okay, I'm writing down every time I, whatever, fed you or whatever. I'm writing it down, right? I'm taking a journal out of all the things. Every time I bought you a sweater, like, my sister bought her son a sweater earlier. It's a little cold out today, right? It's not that she wrote it down. Okay, in Mission Beach, I bought you a sweater in 2020, and then later when he gets older, okay, now you got to pay me back, right? It's not like that. So there's no sense of money or no sense of, what else was I thinking? There's no, like a lot of the times in relationships in this world, there's some suspicion, right? Oh, is this person, are they really for real? Are they just going to cheat me? Or are they messing with my emotions here? Right? So, in other words, why is that? Because people within this world, souls, embodied souls within these bodies, humans, we've been cheated and burnt so many times, I suspect, and practically we could see, that we have a hard time sometimes trusting people. We feel a little suspicious, right? Oh, I don't know about this person. And if we could get past that suspicion with someone, that's you could say, made quite a lot of progress. Just like, sorry to bring up a sad story, but just like there was a devotee, and she was, Hare Krishna devotee. She is still. And she went on a vacation with her son. And while she was gone, her husband cheated on her, specifically with her sister. So it was quite heartbreaking for her, and from that she developed a lot of just complete disgust with so many relationships, and she never really recovered from that. So in this way, and whatever, we don't have to get into all of our stories, but we may have encountered maybe something not so severe, but something like that, something that's messed with our heart or punctured it or damaged it on some level. So sometimes what happens is we bring that into the realm of devotional service, specifically in the realm with Krishna. We think, oh, well, I don't know about Krishna. I don't know, is he going to cheat me? Is he going to take everything away? Is he going to, right? I don't know if I could let Krishna get too close. In other words, we're not absolutely sure or completely convinced that, we may not be completely convinced that Krishna will completely take care of us. And we're able to have this loving relationship without any of this suspicion or anything like that. So it's being advised that we try to give that up. We don't have to have that with Krishna. In other words, we could trust Krishna. So here it's being mentioned pure devotional service. Like we're saying, it's not a business exchange. It's no selfish motives. It's completely, it says, unmotivated, which means there's no material motivation to worshiping Krishna. Now, in the realm of, you could say, the academic world, they have translated this word bhakti, so many of them, if you look within the academic world, they say bhakti means devotion. Which Srila Prabhupada, our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, he did a very interesting thing, which was in many ways just completely revolutionary. I mean, he did so many things that are revolutionary, but he didn't translate it bhakti, just devotion. He translated it devotional service. So, but they're actually, the terms technically, bhakti, devotion, and seva, service. So he combined them, actually. Devotional service. Now, why is that? Because he didn't want anybody to get the wrong idea. He wanted everybody to have the clear idea that, again, it's practical activity. We have to practically do things for Krishna to develop that relationship, like we were talking about the 611 exchanges. And we see that within this world, there's so many ideas of bhakti, many misconceptions, and you could say right conceptions, but for some reason, I don't know why, but I happen to pick some of the misconceptions. Actually, there is justification for me doing this because Srila Prabhupada's guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that a lot of his teaching was actually explaining what Krishna consciousness is not. Because if we discuss what Krishna consciousness is not, then we have a better idea, right, what Krishna consciousness is. At least we know what to avoid. Okay, so here's a few examples. So my spiritual teacher, His Holiness Giriraj Swami, he was in India, and he was helping Srila Prabhupada build this magnificent temple, Juhu Temple. It's still there in Mumbai, big city within India. So he was going out every day, collecting funds, dealing with the all legalities of it. It's a big, messy story. It's actually quite difficult to do because there's a lot of envious people trying to stop it. So we won't get into all those details now. But while he was out trying to talk to people about Krishna and raise funds for the temple, which they did build it. I believe it cost $2 million to build, and that was back in 1970, 1970s. So it's multiplied. Quite very nice temple. And so people wonder sometimes, why if you people are so religious or spiritual, why are you spending your money building these big temples? And Prabhupada said that we're spending our money building these temples. He said we could live under trees. We don't have a problem. He said we could just stay under the tree. We'll chant Hare Krishna. But then in terms of inviting everybody, they're not going to like that so much. So we have to build these big facilities and then more attractive. So while he was out one day, he met an Indian man. And Vaishnava, do you think you could check if that door is closed? The audio? It might not be closed. It's really loud. It's like an airport or something. Our audio room. You hear that? You closed it all the way? Yeah. Okay, all right. I feel peace now. So he was out, and there was this man, Indian man. So this man, he brought out a little box, and it was a golden box. It's a nice box, and then he opened it up, and then there was some dried tulsi leaves in there. And he said, I'm very Krishna conscious. He said, for those of you who are familiar with tulsi, first we'll just backtrack a little bit. Tulsi is important, tulsi is a plant, so you pick the leaves off. And within scripture it says that Krishna especially loves offerings of food and water and so on that has tulsi leaves on it. So within Bhagavad Gita it says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakti prachati. Krishna says, if you offer me with love and devotion a fruit, a flower, a leaf, I will accept it. But Krishna especially likes leaves, these tulsi leaves. So before you offer something, you put a tulsi leaf on it. That's what we do here at the temple. And many devotees do that. So, but you don't take the tulsi and offer it to yourself first. That's missing the point. You offer it to Krishna first, then you take it. So this man, he pulled out this box and he said, I'm so religious, I'm so spiritual, I always carry this box of tulsi, which, by the way, was not offered to Krishna. I carry around this box of tulsi. And each time before I take my tea, which means caffeinated tea, which traditionally, and even nowadays, Vaishnavas don't take caffeinated, right, thing. So he said, each time I take my tea, I take one of these tulsis and I put it in my tea, and then I drink it, you know. So it was a misconception. That's not. So we don't do that, but we offer the tulsi to Krishna, and then we take, and we don't offer it in our tea, caffeinated tea. And also, one friend of mine, he was saying that sometimes he would visit very wealthy people's houses in India. It's a big house, not even a house, like an estate or a mansion, you could say. Very ornate, very beautiful, very expensive. And the man, this particular person he visited, my friend was touring through his house, because that's part of having a big house, right? You want people to see. So he was touring them, this is the bathroom and whatever. I don't know. So, nothing great about a bathroom. So when he was touring, he saw, many houses, and they were eating very opulent food and so on. And then they passed by a little closet, very small closet, right? And then my friend was wondering, what's going on with the closet? And then the man said, this closet? So this is where I keep Krishna. Little deity of Krishna, right? And then my friend said, okay, and then he says, he sees he's just offering him a little water and a little sugar candy or something. So naturally people think, hey, you got such a big mansion, why don't you just have, even devotees I know who don't have, they live in apartments or they live in, whatever. They have a little room, not a little room, they have one of their rooms dedicated just to, Krishna, pictures of Krishna. So that was another example that this man, he had some conception of bhakti, but it wasn't very high. It means he should be giving more to Krishna, not just a little closet. And the last one, it's a little more serious, but actually, yeah, it's on a whole nother level. A little dramatic, but so there were these two devotees in Los Angeles. I'm not going to say their names, but sorry. And they were a wife and a husband. They're married. And this wife, she was a police officer. And somehow or other, she got attracted to another person within the police field. She got attracted. And she actually ran off with that person. She ditched her husband and her child and just ran off with that person. But, okay, fine. That's not fine, but people do that all over the world, and it's not so surprising, you could say. It's unfortunate, sad, but not so surprising these days. But what was really surprising is what she said. What she said about it. And what she said about it is that she said that from doing this, I could understand more about Krishna, from what I did. I could really understand the mood of Krishna. So what she meant by that is, I'll explain a little bit, that Krishna, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has different relationships. It's not just like one relationship he has, namely us as the servants and him as God. But he, just like we have relationships, our life is wonderful when we have these relationships. It means healthy, good, nice relationships. Mother or parents to the children, friends and friends, spouse, husband, wife, whatever. Then these relationships are, that's like, you could say, the happiness of life. So Krishna also has relationships, these different relationships. So what I'm saying is that Krishna has relationships where he has many girlfriends or he has many wives. He's allowed to do that. It's not against the law. He's Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality. He owns everything and everyone, so he's able to do that. And specifically within Krishna's pastimes, there is mention of him playing his flute in the forest. And what happens when he plays the flute in the forest? You know what happens? All the gopis, means the cowherd women, whether they're married or unmarried, they run out to Krishna and they have this dance, rasa dance. Now this is very high, and it has nothing to do with this world. It is completely pure, nothing like boy and girl, mundane, anything like that. It's completely transcendental. But that's what happens. So this person, she was saying, now that I ran off with somebody else and I left my husband, I could understand the mood of Krishna. So, in other words, it's completely mundane. She tried to bring Krishna down to a mundane platform, and she completely misconstrued the whole thing. In other words, it was a very foolish statement. It has nothing to do with bhakti, obviously. But Prahlad Maharaj is teaching us what is bhakti. That is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. This is real bhakti, which means hearing about Krishna, chanting about, or the philosophy of Krishna, like we are now. Hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, remembering Krishna. So many different processes of devotional service. And how does this begin? How does this education begin? It begins from hearing. So it says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadankshanti te jnanam ganinas tadvidarshana. So it says, just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Because they have seen the truth, they're able to enlighten a particular soul. So, in Brahmanda Brahmatikon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadipai, Bhakti Lata Bij. So, transmigrating means the souls going from different bodies, this species, that species, this planet, that planet. And by the mercy of Krishna, they come in contact with the Guru. And by the mercy of the Guru, they get Krishna, or Krishna consciousness. So, hearing, that's the first step. That's the first step, hearing. And without that learning or hearing, one can practically, they can't become convinced. So in other words, it's talking about enthusiasm. It's talking about reaching the goal in this verse. So how does one reach the goal of anything? They have to be convinced that it's worthwhile. Or else what's the use? What's the use? If someone says the goal of life is to, I don't know, who knows? The goal of life is to travel all over the world non-stop and taste every cuisine on the planet, right? Okay, now you may hear that, but if you're not convinced, if you think that's a waste of time, you're not going to do it. You have to be convinced, and then you'll do it. So that's the same within Krishna consciousness, that we have to become convinced that it's worthwhile. And what I mean by convinced is not like partially convinced, or like 25% convinced, or 30%, or 50%. We're talking about 100% convinced that this is what I should be doing with my life. And then, based on that conviction, we could be very enthusiastic. We could be extremely enthusiastic. Because, that's just how it works. I mean, people are convinced that, if I become people are convinced that I want to become a doctor, I want to help the world. And if they're convinced of that, and if they have whatever, their karma and intelligence or whatever it is, money to go in that direction, then if they're convinced, they will do it. So that's what I'm mentioning here, that it's being brought up enthusiasm, but we have to be convinced in order to be enthusiastic. And that lack of a lack of being convinced means one thing is it's a lack of hearing, which means there's certain knowledge that's trying to be transmitted to us, and if we don't hear it, we're not going to be convinced. Or if we hear it casually or half-heartedly, or what else? Hear it in such a way, but we hear it, but we just selective hearing. Oh, hey, that, right? Selective hearing, or hearing and not applying the principles of what we're hearing. Then, our level of being convinced will not be that high, and therefore we won't be enthusiastic as we need to be, and therefore we won't reach the goal as fast as we should. Right? Makes sense. At least, yeah. So, of course, there's quite a lot of points brought up in this verse and purport, being enthusiastic, and Srila Prabhupada was the greatest example of all these things. Like he said, I came to your country, I came to America. He came when he was about 70 years old, and he said, I came to your country, and I was if I wasn't enthusiastic, how could I have come to your country at such an advanced age? I was very enthusiastic. And in terms of confident, he was confident that Krishna will take care of me, or else how would he have hopped on that boat or boarded that ship, Jaladuta, which was a cargo ship, about 40 days from India to New York or Boston. How would he have boarded that ship, cargo ship? And his health wasn't great. He had 2 heart attacks, as many of us know. So he had confidence that, yes, Krishna will protect me. And he said when he started this movement, he was very patient. He said, I started this movement single-handedly. No one was there to help him. Of course, Krishna, but no, So he said, I was very patient, and he said there's practically a whole year in which Srila Prabhupada didn't get tangible results. Tangible means a following and a storefront. Only after a year he got those results. I was very patient. And acting according to Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing, chanting, remembering. So that's what he was always doing. Like when he first came to Butler, Pennsylvania, Sally Agrawal, she was an American housewife, the wife of Gopal. Those are the ones who sponsored Srila Prabhupada, or allowed him to stay. Gopal's father was in India, and he arranged the whole thing. Prabhupada stayed there for a short time, and he went to New York. But when he was staying there, Sally said, he was the best guest I've ever had in my life. And she said, why? Because if I wasn't able to entertain him and talk with him this and that, he'd be completely satisfied. He was just chanting on his beads, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So he's completely satisfied. And she said that Prabhupada was so amazed by, or he was he was very curious about American culture. Like, for example, he was looking at the frozen food because he came from Vrindavan, no frozen food there. So looking at the frozen food and checking it out, and the vacuum cleaner, he was looking at everything. And said that Prabhupada was bathing one day in the bathroom, and she said that a bunch of water started coming out of on the floor, and then she was wondering, what's happening, but Prabhupada, what he did is he was standing and he was pouring the bucket on him. That's what they do in India. They pour the bucket of water. So, and everybody was very impressed by him. They said that whenever Prabhupada would meet somebody in Pennsylvania, a little town there, he would always remember their name, and then he would call them by, hey, Mr. John, and it's friendly with them. But Prabhupada was really analyzing American culture. He spent time analyzing it so he could properly communicate the message. But he was hearing and chanting about Krishna perfectly. And abandoning the association of non-devotees. So it means not closely associating with people who have no interest in spiritual life or Krishna consciousness. Birds of a feather flock together. It means that if they're not going to encourage us towards elevation, why give them so much of our energy and time? It doesn't make any sense. Some people may say it sounds fanatic or this and that, but it's not. It just, anybody who's successful in any field of activity doesn't associate with certain people. That's a fact. Because certain people just will not encourage them or help them in their particular way they're going. Makes sense. So Prabhupada, he didn't have association non-devotees. He was there by himself. He said, I created ISKCON so I could have some association of devotees. That's what Prabhupada said, because he didn't have any devotee association. So he said, I created ISKCON and my disciples and everything so I could have some association. And then 6, follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So that's what Prabhupada said. He said, this is my secret, that I didn't change anything. I just repeated it. Whatever I heard from my spiritual master, I just repeated it. No changing, no adding, no subtracting. And Prabhupada was criticized for this, actually. Prabhupada was quite a revolutionary, most revolutionary person. He was criticized in India and he was criticized in the West, East and West. When Prabhupada came to America, Allen Ginsberg and so many other people said, Swamiji, you're so conservative. How are you ever going to get the Americans to follow, right? You all these traditional things, culture and self-control and all these different, how are you going to get them to follow? Right? This is the days of peace, love, and whatever other, right? How are you going to get them to follow anything self-control? Who cares about stuff, right? So he was criticized in the West, and then when he went to India, his godbrothers, means the disciples of his guru, he was also, the godbrothers, they were criticizing him. They're saying, you're too liberal. You're coming to America, you're preaching to all these, right, 60s, 70s hippies and uncultured people, and you're just way too liberal and doing so many other things. So in both ways he was criticized. But he understood what he had to do in order to spread the movement throughout the world, and it worked. But mainly what he would always say is that I didn't change anything, I didn't add anything. I just repeated the message. And that's what is being advised here, that not like these people we brought up, right, the examples. Not that they're bringing in all these kind of weird ideas into bhakti, but what's being advised is that we just follow what the ideas, what ideas that have been presented purely and properly already by the acharyas. Okay, so there's quite a lot of other material to cover, but the time factor is is there, so we won't continue. But again, yes, if you have Nectar of Instruction, then you could read it. It's a very wonderful book to read over and over and over and over and over again. Very powerful. Each line, it's like packed in with so much spiritual knowledge. It's actually deceptively simple. It means it looks simple, but it's actually not. It's actually really deep. And if you don't have the book yet, you could get it. It's a very important book. So, okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Don't be shy. Or any challenges? You don't agree? No? Okay. I had to give up my shyness to sit here, so at least.
One of the items was to make friendship with Krishna.
Yes.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Making friends with Krishna. So within Krishna consciousness, Gaudiya Vaishnavism means to become very close to Krishna, like really close, like up close and personal, like face to face with Krishna. And practically we see that in the spiritual world, that's what all the relationships are. Mostly these relationships are super close. Like the parent, like how close is a parent to their child? A good, healthy parent and a child. Very close. Same with a friend. Same with, Krishna, like girlfriend, boyfriend, or husband, wife. Very close. So, of course, if we try to become too close to Krishna too quick, then it could go into the realm of becoming like offensive. So that's why we have to be a little careful. So actually, this becoming friends with Krishna it's really advanced, actually. But in our own way, not in our own way, but in a way, we can still develop a relationship with Krishna that is not so much like fear-based, that, oh, well, if I do this and I do that, then Krishna's going to, smite me and smote me, it's not a fear-based relationship. It should be a very, you could say, open relationship we have with Krishna. Whereas Prabhupada said that, I heard Srila Prabhupada say that these loving exchanges that we're talking about, giving prasad, accepting prasad, giving gifts, accepting gifts, revealing one's mind, these could, Prabhupada said we should do these loving exchanges with Krishna. So these loving exchanges aren't just for the devotees, but they're supposed to be for Krishna. So we give Krishna things, gifts, we different food, different this, that, and so that's there as well. And of course it's a big subject, but lastly there was this, like deity worship, for example. We can't see Krishna with our eyes, material eyes, but Krishna appears in the form of a deity, Archamurti. So with our deities, those who dress the deities, how close do they get when you're dressing the deities? You know how close you get? You just get this close. You're up there, you're right there. And my opinion is, if I could say, in some ways, I don't want to whatever. It's a lot different taking darshan or seeing Krishna from this floor room versus seeing Krishna really close. It's a lot different. So it's advised that if we can, we should do that. In the details of Krishna, for example, if you get really close, you can really see nicely. So, anyways, but what I wanted to say is that there was this case where a particular, I thought it was quite interesting, but there was this elderly woman, Indian woman, and somehow or other, she would cook for Krishna when he was a young boy, and she would also cook for Krishna's friend also. She would cook for them. So, but this particular woman, she wouldn't follow all of the, you could say, cleanliness standards, external cleanliness standards that generally, like for example, those who go on the altar have to bathe, have to be clean clothes, all these different things. So what she would do is she would wake up in the morning. Of course, Krishna comes to this earth 5,000 years ago, displays his pastimes. So we're talking about that similar situation. But what she would do is she would cook for Krishna in the morning without bathing. So she would wake up and she'd be in her whatever without bathing, and then she would actually use her toothbrush. Specifically, like in India, they use like neem dhatu, like a twig, right? So she was using something like that, and she was stirring the khichdi, the rice and the dal and everything. She was stirring it. Now, if some of us were to do that in the kitchen, right, and then somebody came in, Dravida Prabhu or somebody said, "What's going on? You got your toothbrush," and we'd be in trouble, right? So we don't want to try that. But she was doing that. She was doing that. And then Sanatana Goswami, one great devotee, one of Lord Chaitanya's disciples, he told her, he said, Mataji, what are you doing? You can't do that. You can't use your toothbrush, and you have to bathe first. So she did that. The next day she said, "Okay, you're right. Yes, I'll follow you. You're right." So she bathed and she clean clothes, and she used a spoon and everything. But she was running late from that. So Krishna and his friend were going, we're hungry. What's going on? So then this woman, she said, told Krishna and his friend that, one sadhu, one saintly person, Sanatana Goswami, he told me that I have to be clean, wear clean clothes, I can't use my tooth, so that's why I'm taking so long. So then Krishna was upset. So then he went to Sanatana Goswami and he said, "Oh, you told her that, but you shouldn't have told her that." He said, "Now she's late, and I actually like that she was doing that. I actually like that she was using her toothbrush. I like that. So I want that." That's what Krishna said. So someone said, "Oh, why would Krishna want that?" Because the thing is, she was completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, completely absorbed in love for Krishna, that she was able to do such things like that. So she's very close with that. Yeah. So we're advised to, you could say, make progress to such levels, but of course we're very careful how we do that. And also, probably, we're not going to do that here ever. I don't think so. Okay, so does anybody have any last question or comment? What is it? Who is it? Oh, okay.
Sorry I was late. Can you please say the 11 kinds of reciprocation again?
The 11?
You said the 11.
Oh, loving. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you said the 11. Well, these are the 11 lessons of Bhakti Yoga. That's it. Loving exchanges, yes. And then we'll end there. Good, happy note, right? Positive. Okay, so these are the six loving exchanges. Offering gifts, accepting gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially. And Prabhupada explains what all this means in the purport more in depth. Accepting prasad, food offered to Krishna, and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So, yeah, you're welcome. All right, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you very much.